Welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today. Think of me as your personal expert tutor for the next few minutes. Because if you're a focused learner gearing up for the BCB exam, you are in the exact right place. We are going totally hands-on today. We're going to decode this exam, break down those sneaky little traps that trip up even the smartest students, and give you the actual structural tools you need to pass. So let's dive right in. Okay, tell me if this sounds familiar. Have you ever taken a mock exam, reviewed your answers, and just stared at the screen thinking, wait, I knew that. Why did I pick the wrong answer? It is incredibly frustrating, right? You put in the hours, you memorized all the terms, but somehow the right answer just slipped right through your fingers. Well, if you've been there, take a deep breath. You are definitely not alone. And here is the really reassuring truth. You aren't missing these questions because you don't know applied behavior analysis. You're missing them because the exam is explicitly designed to test tiny, tiny differences between concepts that sound almost identical. It's like a giant puzzle. You just need to learn how to spot these hidden traps. And the best part? Once you see them, you literally can't unsee them. So, here's our game plan for today's session. We're going to tackle the mock exam trap, look at negative phrasing tricks, untangle shaping within versus across, match extinction to function, and then do a rapid-fire rundown to get you ready for the real test. Starting right off with Section 1, the mock exam trap. So this is where most people lose points right out of the gate, and it almost always comes down to confusing a single, isolated event with a larger group. Think about a response. This is one single instance of behavior, just one single fist swing. That's it. But then you have a response class. And this is a whole group of behaviors that all serve the exact same function. So if a client hits, kicks, pushes, and bites, and they're doing all of that just to escape doing work, that entire group is a response class. So your golden rule here is, when you're reading a scenario, stop and ask yourself, is this describing one single behavior that happened or a whole group of behaviors? One behavior equals response. A group equals response class. Moving on to Section 2, spotting negative phrasing tricks. You know, the exam writers absolutely love to test your reading comprehension just as much as your ABA knowledge. And the biggest trick they use? Negative wording. They love asking which statement is not true. The problem is your brain naturally wants to find the true statement. Think about evocative effects versus reinforcement. An evocative effect, like a motivating operation, changes current behavior right now. Reinforcement, on the flip side, changes future behavior later. So if an exam answer says an evocative effect increases future behavior, your brain might quickly see the words effect and increases and just assume it's right. But it's not. Remember the rule. MO evokes now. Reinforcement strengthens later. And this is exactly why you need a mental checklist. Keep a sharp eye out for capitalized words like not, except, or least. Also, be super careful with seemingly simple scenarios. If a client says, I want a cookie, well, that sounds like a simple command, right? But what if the question also mentions hunger, seeing the cookie, and a past history of getting cookies? Actually, scratch that. It's not just a command anymore. It's testing your knowledge of multiple control. Multiple variables are at play. And hey, don't get tricked by reinforcers either. Warmth is an unconditioned reinforcer. It doesn't need to be learned. But a heater isn't warmth itself. It's the thing that gets you warmth. So a heater is a conditioned reinforcer. It's all about those tiny distinctions. All right, Section 3, sheeping, within versus across. Now, I promise you I have a really simple analogy that will make this notoriously confusing concept stick forever. But first, just to make sure we're totally grounded, let's look at topography. Topography is simply the physical form or shape of a behavior. What does it actually, physically look like? Keep that firmly in your mind. Okay, so shaping within a topography means the physical behavior stays exactly the same, but one single dimension improves. Here's our analogy. A child reads for 1 minute. Then we shape it to 2 minutes, then 4 minutes. The physical behavior, the topography of reading, has not changed at all. They are still just sitting there reading. Only the duration changed. That, my friends, is shaping within a topography. Now contrast that with shaping across topographies. This means the actual physical form of the behavior actively changes into something entirely new. Think of a gymnast. Step 1, she changes her foot placement. Step 2, she adds a totally new rotation to her routine. The physical behavior itself is being shaped into a completely different form. That is shaping across topographies. Let's lock this in. Seriously, memorize this rule. Within means same behavior, better. Across means the behavior starts looking different. If you jot that down on your scratch paper the literal second you sit down for the exam, you for sure will not get these questions wrong. Section 4, matching extinction to function. So this is where we dive into intervention strategies. And the big trap here is picking an answer like timeout just because it sounds like a formal, real behavior plan. But you absolutely cannot apply extinction until you know what is maintaining the behavior. Imagine a student is throwing pencils just to get the teacher to look at them. If the function is attention, extinction means you must completely withhold that attention. But if they're throwing pencils to get out of a math assignment, well, that's escape. Extinction in that scenario means you do not allow escape from the worksheet. The function dictates the plan. And that brings us to another golden rule. Extinction removes the reinforcer, not randomly removes the child. Just sending a kid to timeout isn't necessarily extinction if you haven't actually identified the reinforcer. Keep this simple phrase in mind, and it will save you from picking those very convincing distractor answers. All right, Section 5, passing the real test. Let's bring it home. For this final stretch, I am going to be your rapid-fire tutor. We're going to clear up a bunch of those look-alike concepts that always trip people up right before exam day. First up, generalization traps. They sound so similar. Program common stimuli means bringing real-life cues into teaching, like using their actual backpack or a real bus card. Train loosely means you're varying things on purpose during teaching, like you ask, "How are you?" but also, "What's up?" and "How's it going?" And then general case analysis means you study the natural environment first, like walking around the city to look at all the different ticket machines before you ever teach the learner how to use one. So to recap, real items, common stimuli. Varying things, train loosely. Studying the world first, general case analysis. Okay, keeping the pace brisk. Automaticity means reinforcement works even if the person has no idea it's happening, like a husband taking out the trash more often because his wife secretly smiles every time he does it. Contiguity just means two events happen super close in time. What about public versus private events? Radical behaviorism says thoughts are behaviors, but they're private. Yelling is public, anxiety is private. Private doesn't mean fake, it just means only one person can actually observe it. And finally, positive practice over correction means practicing the correct behavior over and over again. Negative practice means repeating the error multiple times. Positive equals practice right, negative equals repeat wrong. Easy. Next, let's decode experimental design. Prediction means your baseline shows what would likely continue to happen. Verification is when you remove the intervention and the behavior returns toward baseline. Replication is when you put the intervention back in and the behavior changes again. And for multiple baselines, a delayed multiple baseline literally means someone starts later because they just weren't available. Non-concurrent simply means the baselines are not happening at the exact same time. Honestly, just let the name give you the answer. Here are 3 more identical-sounding terms totally decoupled for you. Component analysis asks, which piece of the treatment is necessary? Comparative analysis asks, which intervention works better when we compare them? Parametric analysis asks, what amount or intensity works best? So think, piece, compare, amount. And our final philosophy comparison for the day, pragmatism versus parsimony. Pragmatism is all about what is practical and effective. If someone chooses the most effective option, even if it isn't their favorite, they are being pragmatic. Parsimony, on the other hand, is about simplicity. It means choosing the absolute simplest explanation first before making things all complicated. Pragmatism equals practical. Parsimony equals simplest. Wow, we have covered some incredible ground today. Let's recap this entire explainer by turning our lessons into your final mental checklist for test day. When you look at any question, ask yourself, is this one single behavior or a group? Is the behavior changing its physical form, or is it just improving a dimension like duration? Are they asking me to label a verbal operant, or are they asking about the multiple variables controlling it? Is this about evoking current behavior now or strengthening future behavior later? And finally, what is the actual function? If you rely on this structured approach, I promise you will see right through those traps. So, to wrap up our session today, I want you to take a second and reflect on your own mock exams. Be honest, which ABA concept keeps tricking you the most? Identify it, write it out, and let's break it down together next time. Remember, you already have the knowledge, you just need to spot the traps. Keep studying smart, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.